We'll go ahead and do the pledge, I guess, since
This is our meeting, so.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, since this is a special meeting, I guess I will ask, same thing I always ask, for somebody here who's got something they want to say before the meeting. We can't act on it, but we'll entertain it. So has anybody got anything they want to talk about besides Andrew?
I think since she's been sitting here and you've been sitting here for a while, if that would be a good time that they could speak their piece, because they do have a proposal inside here, and that way the rest of it's just discussion. I don't think they'll be deciding on like a lot of different things other than maybe the loss recovery issue with this meeting. That would be my thought on that.
So, has anybody got something?
You can go ahead and get something out if you want to. If you want, yeah, because, yeah, they won't entertain that probably individually at this meeting. It'll be some other meeting, in a regular meeting, they'll entertain it.
Just about money?
This is about money.
You're at the wrong table.
I know, I came to the wrong meeting
Come to that other
today.
meeting?
All right, so I do have an ARPA request.
Oh.
Yeah.
You too, huh?
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and read you my proposal. I'm requesting $200,000 to replace all desktops and laptops in the county. With Windows 11 requirements and Windows 10 end of life October 14th of 2025, our current systems will not be supported. Nor will current and the next few years' budget be able to handle the costs that of keeping my budget around the current appropriated amounts. With Windows 11 release, not just government is affected, it's a whole worldwide burden to enterprise corporations, everything. I do have quotes attached. The total cost of the laptops and desktops come up to $185,932. So the other $14,067 will be the need for additional monitors if they won't be compatible with the new systems. Spare power blocks, adapters to make the certain monitors I can get them to work with, retrofit, and that's
So I
it.
guess my question is, how would anybody in the manufacturing division of, I guess, world business create a Windows 11 or something that is not compatible with computers? And so you're telling me pretty much the world has to junk millions of computers and start over?
The amount of e-waste, that's another thing, not just financials, but e-waste is another big thing because of that. And it's Microsoft Windows, it's their requirements. So the three major requirements is TPM 2.0, which is a hardware security chip that is on the computer. None of our computers have that, or can be upgraded to that. Has to be a 8th generation Intel processor, which none of our computers have that, and secure boot, which they can do that. But without those other two, that's it. Pretty much any computer manufactured before 2018, 2019 is no longer supported. So you can imagine just all the corporations have all these computers that are still good computers. Like the computers in the county right now they've got a solid state drive, good i5, 8 to 16 gigs of RAM. They're a good, solid computer. But in October 14th of 2025,
So
That's
is there another company besides Microsoft that's going to go out there and start doing stuff so that they don't have monopoly on everybody changing everything?
never. Well, I don't say never, but we all know Microsoft Windows. It's on, that's it. That's your go-to.
What happens with the computers we have now?
They will be at 2025 in October. If they're not updated, they get shut off.
Yeah, but I mean, what happens to them?
They'll either go into auction or be recycled properly after the auction.
Could they be used by somebody in an auction?
The
I mean, they
reason-
couldn't be used by anybody else.
The reason I'm asking this is because, you know, and I know not everybody's an Apple fan,
Mhm.
but I do know that Apple computers can be sold back to them, and they will refurbish them and put them back out, and then you always get a trade-in value from them.
We,
So my question is, maybe we should be going to Apple in the future in order to recoup some costs when something like this happens.
if we was to switch to Apple, we would have to switch almost every software vendor in the county in every office. So
Kind of like the 911 system.
pretty much every department would have to switch vendors for everyday business. So it's almost not, in a big business setting like this, Windows is your go-to. Now down the road, say we get away from on-premises servers and Windows servers, that could be a thing, but that would be quite some time down the road, I'd say. Now, as for the old computers, we could reach, I'm not sure how, as a government, we can resell,
They could dispose of them.
maybe sell them,
Sell them, you could offer them at auction, at govdeals.com might.
or
sell
that.
them.
We could maybe make some money off of them, but at the same time, they're not really going to want to buy a machine that's not safe.
Right.
Because when Windows 10 end of life happens, that means it's not getting any more security patches, no more updates. So you're literally sitting there with a ticking time bomb in front of you, waiting just for someone to hack into it and get all your stuff.
Well, I mean, I realize that Apple is its own, it protects itself from, basically because it itself is a virus, right? Correct? That's the way I've always been explained by Apple.
I mean, it's its own operating system.
It's harder, I guess it's harder to hack.
Yeah, but I mean, I've worked on a few Macs too, where it's just been as bad as a Windows PC, where you almost wanted to take it out back and shoot it. I mean, there's always a vulnerability. There's always your updates. But even with Apple too, they discontinue products. It goes into life. That product won't support the next OS, and
But they always take them in trade.
I would have to research that. So
I guess what I'm asking, could you look at that as an option? Not to say that I'm going for that direction. I just like to have all my
I could get it.
facts.
That's the thing. I mean, I could get you a number, but being able to switch to Apple can't happen currently or down the road for a little bit. I'll just be honest with you.
So we switch all the operating systems.
We would have to go to like MVP, ProVal,
platform would change.
every platform in what the county offices use for their day-to-day business is Microsoft.
And we probably
branded.
shut down for a while too, wouldn't we? in the-
No,
Yeah.
that would be too. Then the cost of getting some other vendor that says, "Hey, we can come in," then you lose years and years and years and years of records and
Tracy, do you know if
databases.
Lao
It's,
supports Microsoft or Apple platform, like our financial? Cause I know CompuTrol used to be DOS, and
yeah,
that was
Microsoft product.
Microsoft.
I do not know.
Cause we've never,
No, they're-
and that's just so common for
So I
business
guess my-
applications is Microsoft.
yeah.
I guess my
for
question
big
is-
organizations like this, Microsoft Windows is your
I guess my,
go-to.
one of
Which
my, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead.
One of my questions is if this is going to happen in the next couple of years, is the availability of desktops, tops and laptops gonna be available? Because there's gonna be a mad rush on the world.
There
for-
is going to be a rush. This is kind of where I'm like, right now, we're at a good time where we can beat that rush, kind of get it before 2025. And
Cause this is the first I've ever heard of this.
yeah,
I just bought a computer the other day, so I guess I might as well.
you're good. I mean, if you bought it the other day, if it wasn't new
Yeah.
off the shelf, you're fine. You're fine.
And just so you know, I mean, I think you've replaced ours since then, but here's how we were always recycling here, upcycling, or whatever you wanna call it. The assessor, out of her reassessment funds, would buy 4 or 5 new computers, about 5 years, 4 years, whenever she has a reassessment cycle, we might get her leftovers in about 8 years. And then she would move them down to the auditor's office and she would buy new machines. And we would be calculating and doing the county's headquarters operation on probably 4 to 8 year old computers.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been,
Right
I thought it
now,
was a big deal to get 2 screens.
right now, I think they're rocking about 6-year-old computers, which throughout the years of them being there, we was able to put solid state drives in them, update the RAM, and they're pretty good computers. But
Good for what we do.
yeah,
So-
but that's what,
So you're saying roughly $185,000 and the rest of the 200 is for, incidentals or,
if the monitor, some monitors require, DVI, VGA, HDMI, there's so many hookups. The new desktops, I believe, have just HDMIs, so HDMI can convert to DisplayPort and DVI by going from HDMI to VGA. If you remember the blue plugs that screw in the back of the monitors, when you're going to a digital to analog conversion, it's not pretty and usually doesn't work. So some of those monitors I'm going to have to replace.
so you're, you have a present, I know you present this to us today, but, can you write like a description?
He
I know,
provided me
Okay.
with one.
Yeah.
alright,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying, because,
Yep.
I did have copies for everybody, we were gonna sort today.
Yeah,
I mean, after seeing,
Thank you.
the outcome today, I guess if we're gonna, go to the council with other, for them to appropriate other ARPA fundings, then I guess we need to take them a lot of that information so that they know what they're voting on instead of just,
Yeah, and I could be there and talk to him too. I mean, with my budget, I mean, it's kind of, you gotta remember also my budget covers the entire county's systems of computers. So, I mean, my equipment line just doesn't go to a computer or desktop. There's servers, firewalls, there's switches, there's so much more that's behind the scenes that no one sees operating day to day. So to be able to just use normal budget funds, I won't even get close by 2025 to be able to update everything to be ready. And I mean, most of the computers that I do buy for the county, to be honest, they are refurbished. They are Microsoft authorized refurbishers though, and it's hard to get that certification to refurbish computers with that level. So they're good machines. I can get them for pretty cheap. They might have a scratch on the side or a scratch on the front. $50, slap in their little SSD, you got a really nice, good computer. But now with this, those refurbished machines that I can get for cheap, won't be able to get.
is this something the schools gotta do too? Or it's not just an us thing?
Oh, it's not just us. It's a lot.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
worldwide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's got it.
Hey, whoever operates on Windows 10's got to go to 11,
Okay.
2025.
And I'm just asking this because I'll be honest with you, what I know about computers, it's not there. So if you bought computers now,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like every time you buy a computer, they're pretty much upgraded pretty quick.
That's technology. That's everything.
Yeah, it runs so fast.
It's horrible.
So, but if we bought new computers now, would it still be a viable computer in 2025?
Oh yeah, absolutely. These computers have heavy specs, good i7, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte NVMe drive. They are spec'd out to be a good future-proof computer. You're easily 6 to 8 years. So maybe 6 to 8 years down the road, we're going to have to fight this beast again. Or there might be a piece of hardware get developed that makes them computers last 10 or 12 years before Microsoft or whoever comes out and says, hey, guess what? That computer is obsolete and it will not work again. It won't be able to run our new OS, get updates, and be secure.
Is there any perk to wait until 2025 at all?
I don't see a perk of waiting, because if we do go through this and I have 200 pieces of I have 200 desktops and laptops mixed together sitting around, and it all comes in once. I have 2025 to deploy 200 machines throughout the whole county by myself.
Or if there's back ordered and you can't get them.
Back order to, it would put such a crunch on, if it's back order to me, it'd be rough.
So what you're saying is that with Windows 11, with the release of that, the minimum system requirements for the hardware to support the software
Correct.
has upgraded so much that our machines aren't capable of dealing with Windows 11.
The processor and the TPM platform is out, it cannot be upgraded in our machines.
So we're past upgrades.
Yes,
and
we're
past
done.
compatibility with Windows 11. We don't have enough hardware
No.
system requirements to support that.
Like what I said, what's sad as performance wise, absolutely. I could throw Windows 11 on any of these computers right now and it will run it flawless performance wise. As for compatibility, I can't put it on there.
Oh.
Because what's bad too is there is ways to bypass those requirements, but Microsoft has also issued that if you bypass those requirements, then they cannot guarantee that you get software updates, which will end up leaving the computers vulnerable.
So we're on Windows 10
Correct.
and have been how long?
We've been on 10, so Windows
From the
7.
beginning?
Windows 7, we was on Windows 7 here for a while, and the end of life was, I believe, 2017, April of 2017, around that time frame, and I could be off a year.
But well, now we've always been able to upgrade.
We was already at Windows 10 before that deadline, because in the environment here, I'd say I'm not gonna let a computer be running at end of life software here in the government. You know, it's
Yeah.
just dangerous,
Yeah.
so.
The more computers we buy, do we get a bigger discount?
We did get a good discount.
Could we get more of a discount?
I did get a quote direct from Dell, so this is coming straight from the manufacturer, no middleman. I can reach right back out to them and just say, hey,
No, I'm saying, I'm just thinking of a game plan.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out if we was to purchase more computers.
oh, more than this?
Than what you got.
We just
would
spent
there be-
200,000 while you're gone.
Would there be a bigger discount? Or you think there's
Better than 500.
There might be a bigger discount, but we're still gonna
Oh,
pay
we
some
did allow
more.
you to sign for it.
There's still gonna be more cost.
Thank you.
And right now, I think I've got maybe like 5 desktops and 5 laptops extra, just in case something dies or I need a part or something. So I already kind of have some extra. So if we get more, there might be a discount, but I'm not sure how much. If it would be worth it.
No matter what you
How
want.
much are we looking at per computer?
Per computer, let's see. The Latitude 5520 is the laptops, and they're at $996.59 a piece.
And how many?
And that is
But you're getting-
45 of those.
Are you getting a quantity discount of any
Yeah.
type of? Yeah.
Yep. So that's 45 of those at $996.59. Then the desktops, which they're also micro. So you see like the towers and stuff sitting around. These are probably 6 inches by 6 inches, probably 2 inches tall, and that's it. So they can sit on the top of the desk too. Helps with dust. If you need to clean them, slide it, blow them off, put them back on.
So they don't have a
Everything's right
fan or
there.
anything in it like you used to?
They do have a little itty bitty fan, but they're pretty quiet.
So these prices are in that 200,000? Or is that on
Yep.
top of the two?
No,
Okay, that's
it's
part
in.
of the 200,000. Okay.
So, and the desktops, the little micro desktops are $910.23 a
Alright, when you
piece.
say micro, you talking about the screen size of that piece?
No, the computer itself.
Oh.
Like instead of having a big tower sitting underneath the
Top-
desk with wires,
the hard drive and all
this
that.
little guy sits right there on the top.
Gotcha.
And they are,
So that'd be times 45 also.
that is 155 of those.
There's more desktops.
Okay.
than
Yep, there's a
I got
lot
you.
more
I got you.
desktops than in all the county buildings and
Are they,
laptops.
How much were they?
And they were $910,
But these-
$10.23 a piece.
These are brand new, not refurbished.
Brand new from Dell, 3-year warranty, and i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 NVMe.
And how much are them normal? About, and you can paraphrase, so you don't.
So like the desktop, they're excuse me, it's the $910.23. That's just how much they are new. Now, so these are the newer models. They were, so that's a 50, an Optiplex 5090 is a model. I think there was like the 30 series, like a 3030, 3050, 3070. Those were a few years ago, or more than that. You can get them refurbished right now online from $150 to $300 compared, depending on your hardware inside of them. But when you get to the year 2025, they're obsolete.
I'm just trying to figure out how much of a discount you think. we
How much discount?
Yeah.
The discount's not on here, but I can easily reach out to the vendor and see what kind of bulk discount we're getting.
And
If
then
you
I
wouldn't
just
mind
only,
doing that, that way everybody can see.
See too that we're getting.
Yes,
Because I mean, I'm
I think that's important for them to see. The
Yeah.
I'm talking about the council.
yeah, and I do like saving money. I am that kind of person.
Yeah.
So I think 200 is probably right at that good price point for all the hardware we're getting, the future proof of them. So
Also, I've got a question. Once we buy this, or I guess maybe even right now, do you have a policy plan or whatever that you're every so many years you're replacing equipment, so we're not doing it all, and in the future that we're not doing it all? I know this situation is because a system is changing, we need to change all of them at the same time.
yep.
But I guess where I'm getting at is, do you just replace when something breaks, or are you rotating equipment out after so many years?
If something breaks, I've got probably 4 or 5 computers just
Spares.
sitting brand new in the box in my office. They're spare or parts. I can always get parts cheap for these. I've got some spare parts too. But as for like say end of life, like if something's getting old, if it's getting to that discontinued, if I got a server or a switch or something going and it's getting to a discontinued point, it's got to be replaced just to be safe.
Okay.
And to really, I keep up with that stuff, but if you start staggering purchases, like say if we get new computers, we get a small amount one year, a small amount next year, a small amount the other year, then these computers are getting left behind while you're constantly upgrading every year. So every year you're gonna be playing catch up.
Also, are you trying to stay with the same vendor or same computer type like HP or Dell?
We
or
mostly run Lenovo's right now, but
the ThinkPads?
ThinkStations, ThinkPads, Think IdeaPads,
That's what I used to have.
but
That was a good computer.
they're good computers. I'm not gonna lie, but I think Dell too is a good rock solid.
Been around.
Oh yeah, they're a good rock
I'm
solid.
gonna do a guess at $200,000 of the value today. If we wait a year, we might be, it's like everything else. it's
With
going up.
inflation, yeah, everything going on right now, this price could change tomorrow.
So we don't
I have
know.
no clue. Would it be a drastic jump? No.
We know
but-
we got the 226 to spend this money. Well, I don't even know if it'll be here in 226, we have anything left. So,
And
We'll have every penny of it.
well, they could be the way it's going.
yeah. And I'm just doing this as I'm trying to be,
You're not bringing good news,
I know, sorry,
because you're telling me at home I've got to change computers too.
there's a possibility.
Well, I know this would be terrible for this county if we didn't have a
Yeah, because
system
if
like this.
we got a system, I'm
It would
turning
be-
it off if
You
it's,
girls wouldn't know what to do with that.
no, we go back to slate and chisel.
That's the problem.
But the issue is, it's
Good
not
idea.
necessarily the computers are gonna not do what they're doing now, is that the security of getting cyber attacked or something else is gonna go
Yeah.
away.
And it's bad.
I understand we don't have no choice to do it, it's just.
Yeah, and this is,
If there's one
is,
thing that upsets me more than anything, is to have to buy something that doesn't last.
yeah, and this
You
is
know it's not going.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
and this is not me
No
just
one-
going,
no one-
this is not me just going, hey, we've got money out here, let's get some new shiny stuff.
But
This
that's-
is just me being cautious, saying, hey, we do have some money now and we
This
can
is our chance.
do this.
But that's where I
I say if
say,
ever there's a time, here's the time.
Yeah, this is a good time to do it.
but that's
Then,
where I say that the feds need to do some, need to do some breaking up or some
Yeah.
changing.
Monopolize them.
yeah.
Well, it's-
I mean, you either have
We're actually
Apple,
asking the Fed to do something now.
you have Apple or Windows. I mean, you do have Linux, you do have some
Well, but-
Ubuntu, some smaller stuff, but you really can't use this in an
Well,
environment.
you go through a whole training program here.
Yeah, yeah. It just, and what boils down to is what we utilize here in the whole county is Windows based.
Well, I've been on a Mac computer before, and it was like going to Mars. I mean, you're like, what the heck? I mean, and I remember the old systems where you had the old systems, you had to go in, type in DOS, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
I was
go
like,
DOS
what the
command
heck
line.
is going
Oh,
on?
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
We use Mac 1000. Once you get used to it,
Yeah.
it's
I-
fine. But
I'm gonna say no.
Well, I mean, Macs are nice. I'm not going to dog them. Price point wise, they can get
Yeah, but they're,
Oh, yeah,
for this
you're locked into
hardware.
their system too, though.
Yeah, and that's what's bad for this hardware. For $910 computer at that hardware, I'm going to pay double.
Because you're not buying, Microsoft does have computers, but they're selling you a program. They're not selling you they're not selling you the computer.
Yeah.
You know, Mac sells you both.
So to jump on the selling you the computer part, whenever I see something that exceeds 150,000, my state purchasing statute starts popping up in my head. So I know you've got a Dell direct quote that gives us an idea whether we should bid this out or not, but this does require, since it's over 150,000 and it's a supply, we have to do a notice to bidders and ask for quotes and advertise
Yeah.
for that.
We do.
Yeah.
Where it's even
Anything
up
over
funds.
150,000.
Yes,
yes.
it's a public
Especially
purchasing law.
because it's our.
Oh.
We can't sidestep that. Yeah.
Now, it can be what you do, just like what we've tried to do with construction bids and stuff, is that you tell them exactly what you want and whatever equipment you're wanting, and they have to meet that guideline.
Okay.
Yeah. Gotta know how it
Oh.
works, girl.
I'll get 2 more
But
bids.
what you're doing is
You
you're
actually
telling
have
them,
to advertise.
you're gonna tell, hey, we want this
Oh,
and
jeez.
this
By the way, we don't have to take the lowest bid. We have to take the bid that's best for us.
Gotcha.
So you get with me, if the commissioners tell you that's okay to move forward with this then he can get with me to give me the specs so I can get it in the paper. If the commissioners decide to move forward with this as a potential ARPA
Yeah.
plan item,
I think it is.
I think,
But it wouldn't do any good to do a bid until we authorize the money, would it? And the
Well,
council
you have
too.
to know what you're
You
going
have
to
to know what your
spend.
bid, yeah.
I think unless you're
Well, he's asking
dealing with
200,000.
proprietary
Yeah, but
stuff,
he has to
you
have
have to take the lowest bid.
No, you don't.
I think you do.
It's, you don't, the lowest bid is what state statute wants you to take, but if there is some reason why they didn't quote
Yeah, pretty good
exactly
reason,
apples to
yeah.
oranges, or you see an advantage over one supplier due to timeline,
Well, you
availability,
can justify the high bid.
justifiable reasons to move off the lowest bid,
Okay.
then you're good.
I thought we had
Yes.
to.
So
No.
we're gonna ask
Not
him to do a
always.
bid and then
If
come
it's
up with us.
apples to
That
apples,
200,000 don't mean
if
anything.
it's-
It's gonna be whatever the
if
bid
it's-
prices are.
They're
So
doing
there's,
something else.
I have to do bidding and you can't just get 2 more quotes?
No, if not, if it was under 150,000 or a
Gotcha.
service contract,
So I've
you could do
never,
that.
I've never did a bid
That's-
project,
So
so.
if they say, yeah, work with the auditor and we'll get you a notice to bidders out in
Yeah,
the
work with
paper.
the
So,
auditor.
so it's an open bid,
Yeah.
actually, that it has to be posted
Yeah, I
and,
have to put it in the newspaper and we wait so many days and they can't entertain the bids until it
Now,
comes
you
sealed to
might
me.
get what happened with Jeff, where somebody comes in there and says, we can't beat that price, and we're not gonna bid. I mean, I know we had those two that he was talking about earlier, you know, the one in Clark, or the one in Louisville they're talking about, and the one in
Yeah.
Indianapolis, both sent an email and said,
no.
I would say
we're not gonna bid.
it would be a good idea to bring their rejections
Yeah,
meeting.
if you don't get
Yeah.
one, you need to bring it in an email saying, at this
We
time,
refuse to bid.
we're not gonna bid.
Yeah.
So when it's an open bid, do I wait for these people to come to me,
That's- it
or
goes in the
do I
newspaper.
reach out?
You wanna do both in your situation.
If you know vendors out there that you want to vend or to
To
bid,
bid.
then yes, you can tell them, hey, we're putting this in the paper, there'll be a legal notice, cause everybody doesn't read the Crowsville Times or the Salem Herald or whatever, or Leader or whatever it's called now.
So I can just reach out to them and say, I want these
can
exact
bid.
specs.
And give a scope of what you want.
And there's a
Don't
timeline
throw out
that,
something,
well,
anything.
there'll be a deadline of Friday, whatever, 2 weeks from wherever they start.
So it needs to be worded as a bid, not a quote or anything like that. Like it
You
needs
They
to
need to
be.
know exactly what you're
Get
asking.
with-
Okay,
I've got
I'll
the-
get
I've
with
got
you.
the
Okay.
form.
She's
Good
got a
idea.
format,
Good
so
idea.
it'll come out now.
Basically, you can take that paperwork and you can run a copy of it, take a black marker, mark out the
Prices
prices
and
on
everything.
them, and then put
And-
that out there and say bid on this.
That we can't use that in the paper.
No.
See, that's
No,
why,
no.
yeah.
It's a
So
scope
you
of,
need
you're
to.
gonna
That
be a
information.
scope of information
Yeah.
of what you're bidding.
Okay.
And if it's 40-some laptops, and they have to be this speed and this
They need
type
it
of
to
stuff.
be a match.
Yep, and then the desktops has to be has to match this. Take that and say, that's what I wanna quote on.
They've all gotta be
And
voting on the
you
same.
bid
thing.
on, and then you
Bid on
need,
the same.
you know, we'd like to have 3.
Okay.
What goes in the paper is a notice to bidders that we're taking bids on such and such date, they'll be entertained by the commissioners on such and such date, and I time that out by their meetings, okay? So I have to look at the calendar when it goes in the paper. In the meantime, there's a bid packet that has your specifications in the auditor's office. Interested, or like I say, you know, whatever, CDW or whoever's not gonna be coming to the county probably, and like,
Doubt
you know,
that.
to give a bid, but you know where your big suppliers are at, and you reach out to them and say, hey, look, I'm asking for, you know, I'm looking to purchase so many computers. Reach out to them, if they write back, say, sir, I'm not interested, keep that for us. Because if we only end up with one bidder at the end of the day, we'll have rejections, and that proves that this is the only choice we got.
Do we need money locked down before I start doing bids?
No, you
No.
can get.
So like
you're
if
just getting
the bidder
prices.
wins, they're not
They're
they
not
still-
guaranteed
Not until
the
it gets
job.
approved.
Not till the
No.
money gets approved.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna be like, we won the bid, we want our money, we're shipping
No.
these to you.
No.
Okay, okay.
It might be nice, I don't know if you can do this or not, nice to, what we said about a while, ago, whether a bid they good, how long is that bid good for? I mean, it could be a year from now before this gets approved.
Gotcha.
I'd say, I'd ask for more than 30 days, cause the way
Absolutely.
council meets only one time a month, it could fall on a
Yeah.
bad day, fall on a bad time. So I'd ask, hey, give me a quote that's good for 60 days or 90 days
60
or whatever.
days.
Nothing happened, we'd have to do this over again in a year, I think.
Computers,
But for closed bids.
yes.
Is that-
Yeah, it's closed bids. But we're asking him because
Sealed bid.
by the time he gets the bids, we have a meeting and council has a meeting, it could be
You can
45
put that
days.
in the scope of work, like that any, responsible bidder will be required. You know, they have to put in a bid that keeps it open for a certain amount of time.
And
Okay.
then,
But
and
you
then you
want-
mail it to the auditor's
Yeah,
office.
that's what I
Drop it
was
off and
saying.
mail it
Nice
to
and
us.
not
you.
You don't wanna know the pricing.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I
don't
can't
open
see
it
it.
up.
No.
Okay.
It's gonna be.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm probably gonna have to come see you, sit down, we're gonna have to talk for a little bit, cause this is the first for me,
You're
so,
doing right.
okay.
That'll work.
Alright then.
Any other bad news?
That was bad news, what are you talking about?
I can't really think of any other bad news right now, so.
You could've came in here and
If that
said-
was the good news, I don't wanna know the bad news.
Yeah, I don't have any good news either, I guess, so, sorry.
Well, you're doing a good job.
Alright, appreciate it.
All right.
Got good blood in him, I'm telling you.
Chill out with that.
Yeah,
Gotta give him that good Chandler blood.
there you go. I appreciate it, guys.
Come with a happy story first.
There you go.
Then it's backwards.
Thank y'all.
See you.
Yeah.
So Andrew was, telling you, of course, his plan, and then things that you guys have in your request file that I've been saving for a few months now. Is it 4-H, the Association of Scott County, 4-H has asked for, a total loss, revenue replacement in the amount of basically $11,000. It was $10,997. So there's a request that's been sent to us.
How much was it?
$11,000. You can pass it around,
Yeah.
I'll give it back to me, please.
Actually,
Yeah,
I know that,
I'm not
That's, I'm just building that stack,
I
yeah.
do know 4-H.
Wanna look at 'em
I'll send
afterwards?
here.
I do know 4-H came to me and said, hey, you know, we did, during COVID, of course, schools were shut down and everything else. They usually do bake sales and some car washes and stuff, and they do raise that type of money. And I told her to go ahead and submit a formal request, like a grant type of thing, and send it. So I think this was one that I could agree to.
And they did break it down, they broke it into what they lost in fundraising, $9,300, then approximately $1,700 in COVID extra items that they had to do to mitigate COVID. So they have an explanation as to why they're asking for the 11, which is what we like.
That's what I asked for then.
Yes, and then, I'm just gonna kinda go over the, not-for-profit organizations. John Edrington, he has submitted a request of $125,000 to redo the seats, auditorium floor, and auditorium curtains, glass wall in the Scott Theater. Of course, that is for business stimulation, so to speak, for the county.
Was
So-
that back, go to Scottsburg City?
No, this is county art month, so it's a whole county. Anybody in the county could request
Okay. As long as
assistance
you
with
didn't
county funds.
get,
No, this is not this
This
is
is
not the
totally
same deal.
different.
That's
Okay.
not the small business criteria, like where we had to match
Right,
monies, no.
right.
This is totally separate,
So
just
that was for seats.
seats.
Curtain.
Upgrades to the Scott Theater was $125,000. And I'll list these all in the minutes for the meeting, okay? We had a request from Scott County Soil and Water Conservation District, basically for $28,400, 28.4, to replace a drill, that was purchased back in 2000.
Now
So
they're
the
talking
price-
about like a planter.
Since the purchase of our last Truax drill, I don't know what a Truax drill
I
is.
think it's a,
We've helped over 311 landowners cover more than 3,500 acres of land. The drill is rented for a standard fee, and they're also, the SWCD is responsible for all maintenance and repairs on the drill. The last one was bought for basically half the money. Things have gone up in the last 22 years, so it's $28,400.
so explain, or if anybody else can explain, how does the soil and water get their income, their revenue, or anything else?
Are they federally backed? Soil and water?
They're a separate political subdivision of the state of Indiana, is my belief.
But are they like agricultural type of, like,
Yes.
under the Department of Agricultural?
Yes, I have to, let me look it up.
Cause I'm just wondering how they're funded, and, you know, I know, I mean, I get stuff in the mail from them all the time, but I mean, I still don't know how they're funded, so.
And I know the county, we have a arranged marriage, I call it, whenever we provide assistance to certain areas or certain departments. And the county does provide a secretary, administrative assistant type person, and pays for that position like we do pay for a 4-H secretary. So they're
I'm gonna ask a question.
quasi, yeah, they're not county government, but we support that agency.
I guess I'm gonna ask a question here, since it came up in the previous meeting. And we may be doing all this for naught. If Councilman Jones says that we can't spend money on
City.
things that are not owned by us, or organizations that don't have anything to do with the county, how do we spend any of this ARP money on any of these 501Cs?
Okay, so,
The sheriff needs you. He's got an emergency across the street.
okay,
He's asking
do you need me to go across the street?
for, or come and call him.
Go ahead,
Okay,
It's
so
a
we
state
go next
statute.
thing.
There's a state statute that deals with county highway departments specifically,
oh, I know that, because it's fuel tax.
and doing work on private roads, right? A resident taxpayer can request that the county highway department come in and fix a road, okay.
Fix their
All right,
ditching.
But in this scenario, I don't know if the city's considered a resident taxpayer, but again, it says cannot use county equipment or county employees. That's why I disagree with Raymond's understanding. It doesn't prohibit use of county funds in the context of an interlocal agreement, which again is a separate statute that provides for if two subdivisions have the authority to do something,
I'm just
that they
saying,
can do it together if necessary. We are providing a contract for a third party to perform work using their own equipment and employees.
I get it.
So, yeah.
And there was the Indiana
That's
code
separate.
that we have to have an established relationship to be able to spend that money, so to speak, and I think that's when we were getting into the issue with the morgue. If we lease or own,
Yeah.
we can put money into it, the situation.
Oh, I get that, but
So
also,
I think
mean,
that's, but private, it's just been that general
And we're-
payment with
in a
the
way,
broad
we're
brush.
leasing
If
this
it's
park.
private or not owned by the
In
county,
a
we
way,
can't
we're-
touch it.
Well,
And
we
that's
are,
just a
'cause we have
good
an
rule
MOU,
of thumb,
yeah.
but it doesn't apply in
And that's what I
every
said,
single
I think
situation.
it's a legal
It's
way to do it.
mostly that way, yes,
I think,
yes.
the way I read
Mostly
it
that
is,
way.
we just can't send our county highway workers down to do all the work for city.
No, but in the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
when we took this on, we assumed that we could just use our guys to do it.
I
And,
wish we
and that's
could.
why, that's one reason I approved it, because I
Yeah.
thought, well, you know, when we're not paving roads, let's run over there and do it,
I
and the
agree.
county.
I would much
benefits
rather
from
be
it.
doing it that way.
So, anyway.
And then
What's-
you guys were presented, you know, all, I'm not gonna go into the Fair Association,
Mhm.
and they just gave you a lot of ideas, but they never gave you an idea or a conglomeration of ideas for a certain amount of money. They just said, can you help us out? And they told you what all they wanted to do, and you said, please come back with more succinct descriptions
Yeah.
on a project or something you wanna see county support you on. So far, they have not revisited that issue, okay?
Alright,
All right, and United Way, they presented to you once before. They
Yeah.
gave you basically the back page is where you went to, which is where you said, tell me your lost revenue.
it was
And they
200
did.
or something, wasn't it?
You are correct, 231, 516, 20. So 232,000.
Can I get a copy of that?
I can get, what I'll do is when we get ready to move on, I'll make sure you guys all have copies of this.
So that
okay?
was lost revenue for them.
Yes, they're claiming lost revenue. All right, another one I have is New Hope Services, and I'll explain this one just a little bit. In times past, the county itself had supported two special organizations, and that was the Mental Health Services via LifeSpring, and elderly and disabled, mostly tied towards a disability, right? Support of but enrichment of disabled persons for your community. The state, actually, I used to distribute money directly to New Hope Services and directly to LifeSpring. A few years ago, the statute changed, and the only thing that they kept was the mental health portion. So the persons with disabilities organizations were left kind of in the lurch, so to speak. Council had historically supported them, I think, since 1979. They were our go-to organization to give our disability set-aside money to New Hope.
We were supporting them when I was on the council.
So that's been a long time ago. Well, whenever this
Long
code
time ago.
changed, New Hope had to come and just ask out of the good graces of council, can you continue your appropriation with, for us? So they had maintained them up until 2020, okay? In 2021, council, only gave them half of what they were budgeting and accustomed to getting. And in 2022, they didn't get anything, did they? So they weaned them, so to speak, off of the council. But this weaning has impacted their ability to function. And they recently have, and I'll give you a copy of the letter, have built senior citizen housing, quality senior citizen housing in the county, and are still trying to maintain a presence in the county and operate. But they have asked for replacement of revenue. So I'll give you a copy of that. So
And they're a 501c2.
yes, yes,
And how much are they asking for?
November, the settlement would have been 64,000, and then lost revenue in 2022 of 128, roughly, 128.
So
So
six-
double, 64 and 128. And last but not least is a request from the museum.
I'm with you on that one, not least.
You are, yes, last but not least. And they have a packet, and they've already been gracious enough to give me copies. So I'll make sure that you get that. And I believe your proposal is 100,000, correct?
Yes, it is.
For
Come
the-
on up, Nancy.
Yeah, you can come on up.
Nancy's a member of our board
Oh,
committee. and
nice to meet you.
She's also a
Nancy,
grant
hello.
writer
Hi.
for us.
I'm used to sitting in the back of the room, so excuse me.
So, and again, they've asked for $100,000. Obviously, you know, they couldn't entertain visitors during the COVID
So
crisis,
it's
I'll call
lost
it.
revenue as well.
And lost
It is.
revenue,
And
yes.
she's got a whole formula put together for that. I don't know if it's in there or not, but
It is not, but I can bring
we've got
it
that
up.
available.
I
if
do.
needed. Well, I don't know if we need it right now, but
And,
hang on.
Nice, that's good.
All right.
Yeah, and we
Yes.
can,
and I'll
she
pass
can
the,
show the loss is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yes, definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
and then, did you put a sustainability component in there too for a couple of more installments to
Yes,
to
it
kind
did.
of not ask for as much as the first ask, but do kind of divide it out over
Yes,
the course of
100,000 for the first year, 50,000 for the next 2 years each. And that way we could be able to apply it strictly to the principal of the mortgage. And that could cut the number of payments down by 10 years easily.
And that's my understanding, is if we do this, we can have it cut down to a 10-year loan.
Yes.
Yeah. Which puts us in the range of maybe getting that thing paid off after I die probably, but you know.
And we'll double check with Zach on this, because I know there's the debt, the direct payment to debt payoff that ARPA funds cannot be used for. Again, we'd be the pass-through agency, and then if they show a loss recovery, then once you get cash in hand, it would be up to your organization to use it how they need to use it. Does that make sense?
So you're talking about a total of 200,000?
Yes, over the
Yes.
course of the next 3 years.
Well, but we'd have to
Include that in your plan.
we'd have to allocate that up front, though.
Yeah, yes, that would be your plan, and then it would be appropriated, and then that money would just be encumbered and roll forward in that fund.
Okay. Well, let's see what we got.
And that's actually the last request we have, and most of these are organizations, as you can see, that have a historical nature with the county, and the county has, most of these have been, supported in times past from counties. You know, they're from the county's perspective, I should say. And of course, the land that the Scott County Museum has was county property at one time. And I think
It's actually very special. I also own the board with Clark County Museum, and they don't have nearly the advantages that Scott County has, with the history, with the building, with the ties to the county. I've worked a little bit with the Hendricks County Museum. They have a lovely older house, but they don't have what Scott County has. It is just that special.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I don't want to see something happen to it, so.
Well, and that debt's like, it just strangles us.
It does. So many things have had to be canceled because of the COVID thing. That they're just now starting to come back. So
And I think that's why you guys thought about the sustainability component.
Exactly.
Because it's not easy to recover
it's
from.
not, and we don't know what's going to be coming around the corner.
Yeah.
So,
All right, well, we'll look through your packet and make a decision down the road and take it to
Thank
the
you.
council.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much, appreciate it.
And I'll make sure you
I just
guys-
did a quick calculation here, minus the fair board, because they really didn't, I think they asked for whatever we can give them, but it looks like just the totals that were here, like $662,916, so minus whatever the fair board had out there, but, so, that's a thought.
Yes. So I think the April 30th thing that Baker Tilly sent down to us, you guys have a meeting on the 20th. And if you give me some type of direction to take your plan again and amend that ordinance, you are, of course, underneath the new rule, the final rule, I should say, you are able to take everything we've got as loss recovery and have a lot of leeway over that. And I was hoping Zach was gonna talk to you more about that. But if you can designate, I wanna take 4 million loss recovery and leave the 630,000 to do support for your, requests. You can divide that however you choose to. But between now and the 20th, if you guys don't mind, kind of give me some direction how you want me to break that up so I can send to him the numbers, so he'll do the reporting correctly.
I guess I have a question there is if, as some of the confusion I think in this meeting earlier was that if we say we're gonna take 4 million of the remaining money or whatever and move, which actually it's not 4 million left now, it's, whatever less the bridge and,
Seven,
and the,
yeah,
yeah, and the,
of the first draw, 798.
so whatever's left out there, 4 million or 3.9 or whatever, if we say we're gonna move that all 3.9 over to loss recovery, but we don't have a project we're associating it with,
You're okay.
that's just an appropriation of them gonna say, we're gonna move it to this line item as a loss recovery. But the projects aren't designated yet.
You're just
So are
gonna,
I guess my question is to the council, are they going to understand that we don't have a specific plan, but we're moving it over there so that we can use it under those guidelines?
that it's automatic. You don't have to create a new line. The fund will just be overall considered all loss recovery.
Yeah, but I get that,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that if we go back to the council and the council goes, no, we're not gonna move it all over there,
That's your plan. You guys designate
Okay,
if the
so-
funds are moved as
but
loss
it's a
recovery.
vote on their part?
No,
Okay, all right,
No.
that's where I'm getting
no,
at.
you're the policy
Okay.
part, and the policy is that all these funds will be treated as, we're gonna claim them as loss recovery.
Okay,
And then we go underneath our own guidelines with the help of what Jason says can be, because then that is the question about, okay, is this legal for general fund to be used for? Then you treat those funds as if they're almost under the same guidelines as general. So you've got certain regulations, but you have a lot of leeway. General
Yeah.
fund has a lot of leeway, right, Teresa?
Yeah. Can I give you a total? After today's, the balance in the fund is 2,318,525, and after today's, I'll backtrack on that, the 530 didn't go. After the 1.5 and the 20, I can give you a balance of what you've got in the fund to this point, because you don't have your second distribution yet, that comes about August.
When's our second distribution?
I think
should be
it's about-
May or June, is what it was last
It was
time.
last year, but somebody said August, didn't they? Is what we told?
I can't remember, Teresa. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
$798,525 will be the balance in your fund after the two additionals that were just done today. And then you'll get the next distribution.
So that's what you have to expend or designate until we get our second draw,
Yeah. 700,000.
798. So you guys be thinking about how you want to look at these funds. Zach can speak to it himself, but he expressed to me that he doesn't see a disadvantage of just taking, you all designating policy expenditures as loss recovery.
But we can always, once it's over in the loss recovery, can we, if we deem that it isn't loss recovery, we can always
I think you
change the
can amend your
status.
plan. It's
But we
just how
can't
do we
We
report?
can't do it before it. We can't do the opposite. We can't leave it over here and then later say it's loss recovery. We can put it over there, but if we deem that doesn't fall, which loss recovery has a bigger, scope of what we can spend on
Because I
than
think
the
you
other
still
three
do
items.
what you want to
Yeah.
do for the most part
Yeah.
as loss recovery whenever you make your decisions. I think, and as Jason said, think about if you get a request from a not-for-profit, think back about your relationship with the county. How strong has it been? those kind of things to justify when you take it for loss recovery. If you pass it through to another organization, have that historical to where it's not going to be odd for you to assist that group. Does that make sense? So you can talk to them, I will talk about loss recovery and how to designate it, so by the next meeting, I know how to write the ordinance
Yeah.
clauses,
Yeah.
how to realign those. And do you feel like, I spoke kind of for you, that you don't feel like it gives them more
My glasses
leeway?
are-
Yes, you're very dark,
Yeah.
very dark-eyed. That it's to our advantage almost to take it as loss recovery at this point, because it gives you more leeway, correct?
That, I mean, that's my real, I mean, again, what you want to do is up to you, but I think taking it as loss recovery, and what I was trying to get across in council is that that kind of, in some respects, loosens the restrictions on what the money can be used for. It would not prohibit you though from,
The other three items, the other three
yeah, you just wouldn't necessarily be spending it under that,
Yes.
but you could spend it for purposes that align with those,
So it opens it up to be spent in more areas than if we hinder ourselves and don't move it over there.
correct.
Yes.
I think it'd be a wise idea to move it.
And then, once you guys on the 20th agree or disagree with that amendment to that ordinance, then I can send that to Jason and he can report it all as loss recovery if that's what you move at the meeting.
Okay. All right.
Okay. That's
Clear as
all I
mud.
have.
Clear as
I'm
mud.
good.
You have it very organized,
Oh,
Hannah Strong.
Actually, I'm surprised we didn't have more people asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Surprised we didn't have more people, but anyway. All right, I guess moving on to the second part here.
You want to adjourn that meeting? and
Yeah,
then
I would
we'll-
adjourn that meeting and open,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the first special meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
John makes a motion to adjourn the first special meeting, Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. All right, I guess I'll open the second special meeting. We're not gonna do the pledge, because we did it 15 minutes ago, so. So anyway, on the agenda for the second special meeting is a contract for a paramedic training institute program director, and I'll let the council speak.
so, there was a contract in front of you guys, at the prior meeting, with ETAE LLC, which is an Indiana limited liability
Is
company.
this the new copy that you approved?
And this is the copy I'm gonna ask for the signature on, but yes. So there are some things that I did go in and change. Again, not really relative to substantive terms in terms of services to be provided under the contract.
Just
More
verbiage.
in terms of, for lack of a better term, boilerplate language associated with most contracts. But also, just being a little more specific as to notice requirements for either party to the agreement for sending each other either notices of default, notifications to withdraw, notifications to modify, those types of things. So, but again, did not change any of the substance of the services proposed or the amounts proposed for payment for said services. So,
And just to clarify, this is a like contract that we entered in with
Correct.
Jake Carroll several years ago for
Yeah.
when he left the service, that we contracted with him for a couple of years to do
I
that.
did remove a provision in the other agreement that was a required mediation perspective. Again, that doesn't close the option for that at some point if you were to get into a disagreement. Again, mediation is generally a voluntary process.
And the one thing I was kind of worried about was this gentleman here is also a county employee, so, but he has an LLC which separates him from the county, so.
That's correct, and actually the agreement makes it clear that if, for whatever reason, that ETAE LLC is gonna be responsible for providing a program director, even if the program director that's listed there, which would be Adam, were to not be able to perform, right? The LLC would have to, under the agreement, provide a alternate program director.
So we're like contracting?
Same thing we did with Jacob, yeah.
It doesn't, we're not hiring a person. We're
No,
hiring
A company
okay,
to provide a service.
okay.
Anybody got any questions? I know we talked about this the other day a lot, but.
Money's already in place for this?
It was appropriated by council for the paramedic institute, so I'm assuming that within that, he has the program director's budgeted.
I'll make a motion.
John makes a motion to accept the contract for Adam Zeiss, and the company is ETAE LLC. I think the contract
And I've
is,
checked
it's a yearly
with,
contract, isn't it?
And actually, it's a yearly amount that gets changed.
But the program
yes.
runs for 18 months or 15 months,
Yes,
so.
but he's agreed to accept what council budgets for that program, basically
Yeah.
throughout the process, yeah.
Okay. John made a motion to accept the contract for the paramedic program contractual agreement for the program director. Randy? Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. He already signed one.
He has not signed one, but we can go ahead and do ours first. Tammy can attest, and then we'll have, I think the plan was for Adam to stop by today
And sign it later.
and sign it later.
Yeah, I thought he was done it tomorrow, or yesterday.
He didn't come.
To be fair, I didn't have the copy ready.
Do we need to sign 2 of these, or is it just one?
Just
Well,
one.
I'll do it, I'll make copies.
One original. This one doesn't require action at this meeting, to be clear, it's already been voted on, but I just did want to give everybody a copy of the signed agreement with the Young Marines. We do need signatures. You've all already approved signing outside of the meeting, but I had the signed copy back from the representative of the Young
What is it?
Marines.
I'm not with you. What are we talking about there?
That's the license area, the license agreement.
The
for
Oh,
use
it's
of-
Young Marine? Oh,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
And their insurance certificates attached.
Yeah.
You've already approved it, it just,
Yeah.
we were,
Where's the place,
There was a hang up on some
where's the
verbiage.
place I was supposed to sign? 'Cause
There was a hang up on some verbiage.
no, we were just waiting for,
There,
he had to leave that day
oh,
early, and then we were waiting on them to sign it. The way it was passed, it was like contingent on the Young Marines agreeing to the, yes, the updated, so, you're
On there.
right, you're right.
All right.
Could you make that effective? As a,
With the date at the front,
the
too.
date on the front, and then,
Was that as of the meeting that we had
yeah.
on the 6th? You have the
And,
6th day of April on
Yeah,
here.
and I, yes, and if you could do the test on the back, I don't know if there's an exact specific place, but,
And I want to put 22 right here.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Amazing how empty this room can get.
It is very empty. There's a little person back there. We got a handful back.
She's
All right.
back there and
I
back.
guess the next thing up is the consideration of the claim payments for Walgreens, and I'll let Zach talk to that.
So, I think, again, there are,
You want that?
yeah, there are 4 claims. I think at this point, with respect to any and all privacy laws that are in place, which no one has received any information relative to any of these individuals, but we have received at least some kind of notification that there's a belief that there's been terminations from the ADAP program, which would be the insurance that was previously providing coverage that would have paid for these claims. And without being able to identify, there's 4 notices of termination, and there's 4 claims here. And my 2 cents is that once we've established that the claims are due and payable by the county, and because ADAP has terminated, they're proper claims before this board and probably should be approved. I think there are some questions still concerning reimbursement by IDOC, but I think that that's a secondary issue, and I think that again, that's something that jail staff who are in charge of that would have to follow up on, and I don't think they can seek reimbursement prior to this board approving the claims themselves. I'm not saying each of these claims would be reimbursable, but that's whether any one of them is or not is a question for a later date. In terms of tracking when that happens, I believe when the reimbursement comes in,
It's received from the state.
it's received from the state and goes into a specific,
It's from the auditor of state, and it goes into a specific account.
so there will be an ability, I guess, on the back end to track if and when the county were to receive reimbursements. But on the front end, we are still going to be responsible for the claims. If there's a question at a later time about should we have sought reimbursement, I think we'll have to deal with that at that time. That's my take on this, but again, that's up to you guys.
Well, my only drawback here, well, on multiple levels, is that, you know, I don't like paying something, I don't know what it's for. You can say it's for patient A or patient B or patient C, but still, that doesn't make it a valid. And I understand the HIPAA laws. I worked for a company for, you know, multiple years, and I had that information that I knew people's medical history and everything else. And so on one hand, I understand it. On the other hand, I don't. It seems like that in this situation, because we're talking about inmates, and evidently inmates have more rights than most people. So I'm going to assume that they have a little bit more leeway because the state evidently has a law that's stricter than the HIPAA law. So I'm going to go back to, I think Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. I mean, and I don't know where the verification is going to come, but you know, again, I don't like paying for something I don't know what it is, and I know there's been some comments made that we pay for other things we don't know, but you know, I for one look through the claims quite often and try to determine what things are and what they aren't. And I've even asked some other department heads to kind of clarify in their reporting of what they're spending, what it's for, instead of just saying courthouse or, you know, this or that. You need to be more specific when, especially if it's a 10-cent item, then I'm not worried about it. But when you're talking hundreds or thousands of dollars, I'd like to have a little bit more description of what we're paying for than just courthouse. I mean, and one of them was Josh. I asked Josh, you know, to get more specific in what he's, you know, putting a claim in for. And there was a lot there recently that on a credit cards, and I was like, who the heck's got credit cards? And or, you know, huh?
They come to my office.
I get that, but that's where I'm getting at, is that, you know, card services, and so I am looking at them, and then when I see something that, you know, well, it's been a couple of years now, but one throughout was $600 to the judge up there for a phone, and and it was that he wasn't paid his stipend at a certain time, and it was play catch up. So those are questions that are easily answered, but, you know, I do look at those, and probably not as in-depth as I probably should, or we should. But, you know, this situation here is that, you know, I guess there are variables that I have been tracking on this specific subject, I guess, for since last year. And at the end of the year, I got a different type of report than I'd got all year long, and then, you know, I was doing a lot of backdoor guessing, and I never knew. I still don't know who's HIV positive in the jail, and I don't need to know. But I was tracking who, you know, a handful of possibilities, tracking them through the system, knowing if they were in there for 180 days, 181 days, you know, when they were gonna start, we were just gonna have to start paying for somebody, or when we weren't, where they were as far as being incarcerated, and then the date of when they're sentenced, because as Zach alluded to, once an inmate is sentenced and he or she stays in the local jail, those medical expenses revert to the Department of Corrections for reimbursement. So, and again, you know, to find out if that happens, you know, for those charges, I don't know. But so anyway, I guess that's my 2 cents. Randy, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this a little shorter, and just kind of sum it up as quick as I can. I'm being asked to approve something that I cannot prove it happened or didn't happen. But as far as whether or not the particular people actually needed it, or this is a ghost number pulled out of the sky. And I'm not saying that the sheriff is doing anything like that. I want to be very clear about that. What I'm trying to get at is that government, the whole body of government, in every form, is set up on checks and balances. And there's no way that the way it's being handed and directed, there's no way, it's sidestepping checks and balances. Because you're being handed something that you cannot ask any questions about. And that, as far as these claims, I'm willing to consider and take care of them, you know, because we've got to do what we said we have to do. But I think in the future, moving forward from this day, that we should be making sure that checks and balances are there, because that is how the whole system of government works.
And I applaud commissioners for taking the time to look at things, not rubber stamping stuff, checking things out. Independent from Zach, we talked after, he and I had both started our own little paths trying to figure out, because it's always a learning curve for me. Whenever you think, okay, let's take this back, how does this really happen? So, after your dismissal, I should say, of approval on the claims at the last meeting, I started my own little track, and he was going on his path. And then we talked later, and we confirmed each other as far as what we had both independently found out. And whenever medicine is ordered by the jail nurse for the inmates, it goes through Walgreens, and you guys approved the account. So we've got a vendor now. It is processed just like you and I do when we roll up to CVS or another pharmacy. We have an account. ADAP covers, what I learned was that ADAP covers the first 180 days.
Right.
So whenever the insurance coverage of an inmate is expired, the sheriff and the jail personnel aren't driving this bus. ADAP is telling them these people are processed beyond 180 days, and so they're no longer covered, and they kick those bills back to us.
Yes.
Then it's up to the jail personnel to know who their IDOC inmates are and ask for reimbursement of those, because those are a state-funded, out of ADAP coverage inmate medicine issue. So that being said, they're telling us through that system, so the checks and balances is really not, we're getting that information just like we do on anything else we owe.
But wait a minute. We're
Yeah.
not. We're not. And it's not the fault of the sheriff,
No,
okay? Let me show you the loophole in this. The nurse is a contract. I don't know that nurse from Adam. She could be falsifying. Without proper paperwork, we don't know that. Without us being able to see it.
Well, you're not, and that's where we're getting into the, kind of the problem here. She can't legally, any nurse cannot legally provide, and I'm trying to find the actual health code dealing with, treatment for, either physical illness or mental illness in a jail. They cannot reveal their diagnoses or what they did in terms of treatment to anyone other than the listed categories that are in the state code. And the county commissioners are not one. At some point in the future, there is oversight relative to those types of claims via State Board of Accounts and federal auditing requirements relative to the, is it the Ryan White
foundation.
fund? But it is not within our purview to receive that information and call into question the medical expert's opinion on who needs what type of treatment. And frankly, if a doctor says, if a jail doctor that we contract with says, this treatment needs to be given to this inmate for this reason, refusal to do so would subject the county to Section 1983 liability for provision of inadequate medical care, which can be costly litigation. That, I would just say that.
Well,
That's just my like legal perspective on it. Again, I'm not talking about, I understand the policy rationale again, and I think it is good that you would like to know the specifics on why you're being asked to pay for a specific thing. I guess my point is, I think at this point, there's sufficient documentation without revealing any of that confidential material to establish that the claim is payable by the county. Then now it falls on the county commissioners to, I mean, essentially by not approving it, we could run into a situation where Walgreens essentially doesn't receive payment for services already rendered.
Well, that's why I agree to that.
Yeah.
But moving forward in the future, it's hard to sit here and say, you know, we're gonna pay this openly. It's like writing a blank check. In my,
Well, you will only be, again, I think the way that council has structured it is that, and the way the claims process works, is you'll be receiving claims on a monthly basis potentially, or it could be bi-monthly, I mean, I don't know. But, and that they haven't just created a fund that can be, the sheriff cannot use money in that fund for anything else, and the claims will have to come individually. You're not like approving like a grand contract over time. So in terms of writing a blank check, I don't know that you're only gonna be asked to approve as you go.
no, I realize it, yeah, I mean, I'm saying if we don't receive proof that this person here received this treatment.
You can't receive that. I mean, I can't be more clear.
Well, I understand. I'm just saying, when you cannot show somebody that.
I understand why that would cause you concern. Let me be clear about that. But
well, my whole thing is that the three people right here on this board of commissioners don't know those names, but there's a lot of other people that do. I mean, there's people in this courthouse that know, there's people in that jail that know, and I'm not talking just one or two people. I mean,
And again, I'm speaking from my perspective. Let me be clear that my job is to protect the county as an entity, and as well as this board. You guys have hired me. There are penalties associated with revealing that type of information that are and could be criminal in nature. So that is
I don't like it.
that is my concern.
I get all that, but again, what I'm saying is that us three don't know who they are, but there's a bunch of other people that do, but we're the ones that pay the bills, and we're not privy to that. And I want to make it clear that I've never asked for this in a public record. I've never asked for it. I mean, it could be given in something like we do with HIPAA, or with HIPAA with the FMLAs. I mean, I've never asked for it to be in an open meeting and made public, so. But anyway, John, you got anything?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I happen to agree with the fact that we need to check these things, and that's one of the reasons I went along with it. I've been coming in there every month and personally going through the claims myself, just because what I get on the phone is good, but it doesn't get me to the nitty gritty, and I don't have somebody there to answer my questions. So anyway, I've sat in here, usually take me an hour and a half to go through them, and I ask a lot of questions, and it's usually from you two, and most all of them are explainable. In this case, I looked at that too, and I know we all have a right to differ. I never had a doubt it was supposed to be paid. But I agree with the fact it's good to check them. And that's why I voted to pass on this one. But and by the way, I don't think it's gonna be the last time we get this kind of a bill.
No.
So we're gonna be getting it again, and
That's why I'm agreeing to this time.
I am too.
I think something needs to be put in place, because
Yeah.
it's hard for me to sit here and say, yeah, sure, we can pay for that, when I haven't seen.
And
Yeah,
if
You're asking me
somebody,
to do something that I have not
Yeah.
proven.
yeah.
And
And it was not
another
gonna
way-
cheap bill either, yeah.
yeah, and another layer in this little onion is that if someone is incarcerated and they run over the 180 and they're providing medical care on the county's dime, so to speak, and not insurable through ADAP, they leave the incarceration situation and get rearrested, the clock starts all over on them. We don't start automatically paying for them because they've had 180 days inside in that year, in that fiscal year. It starts all over. So that adds another hardship on trying to track
Yeah.
if this person's receiving care or not at the jail, because they could have been receiving it twice and you guys never even known it. And then they go past 180 days one time and you guys have got a bill. Does that make sense?
I've got a solution to the whole problem. If you're sick, stay out of jail. So, anyway, I'll entertain a motion to accept these 4 invoices for prescriptions for the jail.
I'll make a motion to pass those 4 claims to Walgreens.
John makes a motion to pass the 4 prescriptions for HIV meds to Walgreens for, and I'm gonna say $14,629.28, Randy.
I agree.
Randy seconds that, and I'll reluctantly make it unanimous, so. I do have one thing before we leave. And
I got a couple of things too.
We're sitting there talking about
Yeah.
ARPA money. Had a meeting this past week with 5 other commissioners from surrounding 5 counties, and the question came up about what they're doing about COVID pay to employees and some. I know there's been some cities that have paid out money. I know that there are some other counties that have paid out some money, but for the most part, none of them have paid too much of anything yet. And I know we've had some employees asking if we're gonna do something. Some of these guys are talking about that they're looking at possibly a premium pay, which is, I think it's based off of a wage, and I think, and don't hold me to this, but the wage is somewhere in the $13.50 area that is considered by the state and the feds as a premium wage. So I'm not saying they're gonna approve that either or in their counties, but it might be something that we look at as far as, you know, and I just ran some rough numbers, and the pay cycle's 2 weeks, is not $13.50 at 80 hours at you know, with 200, you know, I'm saying we'll probably have 200 employees or something, I'm guessing. But it'll be about $1,080 to each employee, and I think if that works out, if I'm smart enough, it's $21,600, but
Are you talking ARP money here?
yes.
Okay.
You can use it for a premium pay to employees, a one-time thing, so I'm not saying we do it, I'm just throwing it out there as I did a little research on it, and again, you know, employees are out here saying that, you know, COVID, we should got paid, and other counties, I mean, we're not alone right now not paying something out, I just want everybody to know that, there's surrounding counties that haven't done it either, so.
Like, I'm with you on this one. Me and you can agree, can't we?
That's twice.
No, I happen to think, and it's, I don't know if it's anybody's fault, but money's been tight. The employees, I think, sometimes get overlooked for all they do, and I suspect, being Scottsburg and Austin, a lot of other people have done it. If I'm worried we could lose some employees out of this deal. And so, you know, you can always say, well, that's too bad, but I think we got good employees and need to
We
have
do.
incentive to keep them. So whatever number we want to come up with, I'm for it. And I'll pass it, you know, I know it's got to go down to the council, but
Yeah.
we've got to start here. So, and I think we had Teresa throw some numbers out at us. I don't know if we need to vote on, well, we can't vote on today, I don't think. But we need to get some numbers together, and I'll be the first one in line with you to go for this.
Actually, I was wrong. I said 21.6. It's 216,000. Thank you very much.
And we need to get that done. There's a lot of things will go down on
Had
lower
the wrong
level.
zero.
Yeah,
I also agree we need to get anything.
But anyway, that was,
The cost.
I know we talked about a bonus. We talked about, you know, I talked about actually a raise, and Jason talked me out of that.
yeah.
Because, you know, down the road, you're gonna have to be able to pay for it after the money's gone. And hopefully we're in better shape down the road, but we're not guaranteed that, so if, you know,
I think there's.
I'm just saying there's an avenue of, here's an avenue of what some other people are doing, and it might be something that we can consider, so.
And I'm also going to take, it's just one real quick thing. You know, our first line of defense in helping our community and helping the citizens of
I need to
Scott
sign that.
County
Yes.
is our employees.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a disgruntled employee, that doesn't help. So,
Thank you.
And also, for everybody that doesn't understand, roof's being taken off this building right now, and it wasn't because of the meeting this morning, so.
Let me throw 2 or 3 things out real quick before we close up here. Ecotech, I'm getting calls that our trash is not being picked up by Ecotech in time. It's causing some problems there. I know we talked about maybe.
You're talking about the
bidding that
landfill?
out. Yes, landfill.
Well,
Anyway, I think we need to look at that.
I think we need to
I
put
do
out for
too.
bids.
I do too, and that's where I was looking at. And I also think
Actually, I had
and we're throwing in this money out for, this ARP money, I think we ought to look at, getting a new, putting up money out to get a new compactor and hopper. That's gonna go bad on us one of these days, and this will be the few chances we have to buy it now. Unless we decide we wanna go to Scottsburg, but regardless, we need to, I'd like to set back enough money to pay for this compactor and hopper. And the other thing I'd like to do is, I think we're gonna have a chance to get the community crossing grant again in June, which would be about 700,000, whatever it is, and the city's already, our county's already, I think, gave the 300,000, is that correct? The council?
Did they appropriate for the next
For the
round?
last, not the next one.
But it's good for June, wouldn't it be? So we'd have to go to the council again? Okay, I thought we had that laid back, okay. Regardless, I think we need to, I'd like to set back 600,000. We don't have to use it, I mean, just don't spend it yet.
Talking about the ARP money?
Yes, 4 roads for one or two reasons. One is to be able to do this match if we need to. Or if we don't get the grant at all, we got $600,000 we can look at each one of our districts paved. I don't know about you, but I still need some roads paved. So I'm thinking of some things I think we need to be done, take care of the landfill and take care of the roads.
First of all,
Yeah.
and I agree with that, but
Yeah.
one thing we need to watch is that we can set, until 2024, we can set money out
Yeah.
and not say it's not allocated to anything, but at the end of 2024, we have to acknowledge it in
Yeah.
a project or spend it, because out of that, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the 100
and it can't be set in a rainy day fund or
Yeah.
something like
Well,
that, so.
The 160, I'm ready to do that anytime, now. But the roads, I'm just talking about, let's hold off till June,
The 160, what was the 160?
for the hopper and compactor, or whatever the price
Actually,
may
it
be,
was-
I don't know what it's gonna
it
be,
was-
but that was
I don't know about the hopper, but
170
it
or
was-
whatever it was.
Actually, well, that's what they came with, but
Yeah.
this Jason Applegate, the city, showed me an invoice of what they paid for one, and it was $40,000, so.
Well, whatever we need to set aside,
Yeah.
I'd like to set it aside, or not set it aside, just don't, we got till June on the
Yeah.
roads. And the hot compactor and hopper, we need to look at that and get it done.
You had two of the items, or you had one of the items I had to seek seek bids on a contract for the landfill, and the other one was just to ask Todd,
Mhm.
with, I don't know, what is it, Todd Towing or Todd Hauling?
Campbell's Hauling.
Campbell's Hauling?
Yeah.
Is to him to renegotiate his contract, cause if we're not gonna do the recycling, I don't wanna be paying for the recycling, so.
Well, for what it's worth, I mean, I've been dealing with them quite a bit, it is all being done. I mean, I've called Aaron Bell, and he said, yep, it's coming in regularly. Just so you know that, I mean, I'm not talking the past.
You're talking about from him?
Yep, from Todd Campbell, and I've called Aaron Bell to make sure it's been done.
So he's going to Jefferson County?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
But anyway, I still think I think that's been an open end, because I was under the impression from someone else that had talked to Todd is that, hey, tell him to come to me and renegotiate.
Well, we can do that, I mean,
And-
but it's, for now, I know it's being done properly.
Okay.
I think that there's no
I've never
no
seen
other
that
department in Scott County,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that you can give back to the citizens than your county highway, where you're giving them safe roads and safe bridges. So I don't agree with that.
One other little problem, we got a.
Problem?
Yes, yeah, a huge problem at the landfill with all the trees being dumped out there. There's a mountain of trees that,
Wasn't me.
yeah, it was you. But it's a mountain of trees that coming from cutting trees down on the roads. There's a tree there been since the tornado, I think. And,
You're talking about rubbish.
no, there's trees they've cut down. But anyway, yes, regardless, I've talked to Court about this, and the logical thing to me would be to burn it.
Yes.
But it turns out that's not so simple, because you have this gas out there.
Well, not there.
You may, well, you did take you could fill this courthouse, what they got.
We can take it from there and burn it out at the property.
And that may be the answer, but with the answer, I was just plan a date and burn it, but I don't think IDEM would go nuts on us, because it could possibly be an explosion.
Right there.
But I think, I'm gonna call Aaron back, my understanding is they have some kind of a chipper, I'm gonna see if we can use their chipper, start getting rid of this
Did
stuff.
Greg Ramone not do a controlled burn?
Well, we could,
I thought so, but I think I would reach
I
out
think-
to IDEM and see what IDEM tells us we can do or not. But if we do a control burn in an area that maybe wasn't.
I have to run, thank you all.
Yep. No problem. Glad to see you got here on time.
well, and you're right.
Sorry it took so long today, though.
No, you're fine.
I'm all
Say-
for that, but you're right, I think we'd have to
I
have
think we need to
IDEM
reach out and
involved.
see if we have an opportunity to be able to burn it there.
But if we can chip it
Yeah,
for
we,
free, I don't know
Give
if
it
we do
away.
that or not, but, it might take a pretty good sized chipper from what I'm hearing.
I'm wondering,
Yep.
and this is just a shot in the dark. That mulching company that's up in Crowsville, would they be interested in that stuff?
Once it's mulched. Other word.
No, I'm talking about-
Once, if we ran it through a chipper, they would.
I'm just wanting to try to not put money into it, and but we probably are gonna have to.
The reason they're hesitant about taking, I believe, after I've talked to them before, is because there could be metal and it
Barbed
tears
wire.
up their blades.
Mm.
So once you chip it, it's kind of went through that process and they're not worried about it and they will take it.
Alright.
But anyway, I just want you to know, if you're out there, you look, it's gone up tremendously in the last year, not trees up there.
Yeah, we need to do something out there. I'll
So,
I'll entertain a motion to close. Nobody's got anything else.
I'm happy to make that motion.
John makes a motion. Randy seconds that. I'll make it unanimous.